us for more on this is royal correspondent Michael Cole. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Nice to talk to you. It seems to be shrouded in controversy, this guest list, doesn't it?
Yeah, you've got to remember that the King has got plenty of form on this. When he was Prince of Wales, he memorably described the Chinese leadership as ghastly old waxworks. And when President Xi came here, he went AWOL. He didn't turn up at the big events that were laid on in his honour while he was here. I covered the Queen's historic state visit to China. And so I know a little bit about what goes on. And certainly when he was Prince of Wales anyway, the King was very concerned about Tibet. I think he had a couple of meetings at least with the Dalai Lama. So there is all that history behind us, and we're seeing it come to fruition. But politics comes into it at this stage. Personal preferences have to go and take a back pew, so to speak, at Westminster Abbey.
This invitation, of course, Michael, was to the Chinese president, who delegated this invitation to Han Zheng, who did mastermind the crackdown on democratic rights in Hong Kong. But that would be, the invitation to the Chinese president would be at the wish of the Foreign Office and Number 10, not the King.
Of course, and the King is guided at all times by the government of the day in this. He reigns, but they rule. Parliament is sovereign, and the executive is in charge. That means the Prime Minister and one of his ministers, senior ministers, the Foreign Secretary. So the King has got no say in this. He has had influence elsewhere in the guest list, of course, where it was right and proper. But as a country, we have to take this all into account. China may not be our best friend at the moment, but it's neither is it our enemy. And this is perhaps an unfortunate casting, this person who's coming, who's done so much to the detriment of a wonderful place that used to be called Hong Kong, our crown colony. So maybe he's the wrong man to come, but that's their decision, not ours.
Do you think, I was going to ask you about that, Michael, with your old diplomatic hat on, do you think the Chinese president willfully decided to send this bloke, knowing his role in Hong Kong? He must have been aware that it would cause the implications of it.
Yeah, very little is done by accident there.
Quite.
Everything is very calculated. I mean, you know, they play the long game. They invented mahjong and all the other thoughtful games that you can think of. So I think this was probably a signal. Of course, it's still very, very current, with many people still wanting to leave the colony. It's very controversial. The fact that the demonstrations have died down in the streets doesn't mean to say that the anger and the hurt and the anxiety of those people who live in Hong Kong about their future, because they reneged essentially on the agreement that we had when Hong Kong was handed back to China, that there would be this 50 years. Well, that 50 years is a very short 50 years.
All right, thank you, Michael.
Can we just ask, before you let you go, Michael, Princess Anne is going to be given a pretty starring role in the coronation, as she had in her mother's funeral. They were very close, of course, and this is a reflection, I think, of Prince Charles's respect for his sister, who's pretty much a stalwart royal who rarely puts a foot wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Princess Anne is going to be gold stick in waiting. Well, she was only 2 years old at the last coronation. She didn't go, unlike her older brother, who was there for part of the thing. Now, it's quite interesting. I mean, it sounds wonderful, gold stick in waiting, but it has quite a normal sort of beginning. In 1678, King Charles II was a little bit worried about his safety, so he asked a couple of his captains to walk beside him, carrying a heavy ebony stick with a gold top on it. In other words, they were his minders. So essentially, as Colonel of the Blues and Royals, one of the two regiments of the Household Cavalry, Princess Anne will be taking that role. It's a very important thing because loyalty is the essential theme that runs through the coronation. And that was from the very, very beginning, because it stems from the age when changing the monarch was a dangerous business, and it stems from the need to have him protected against his enemies. Well, these days the enemies are different, but on the same page, really, it's important that she is there. He obviously has a great regard for her. When they were children, there was a lot of competition between them, and he felt quite rightly that she was closer to their father, the Duke of Edinburgh, than he was. But they get on extremely well. And of course, she's an excellent horsewoman, and she will be there in the procession taking her part. And as she has done in recent years at the Trooping of the Colour and so on. So it's a nice recognition of a reality that the King's sister is a very close sibling and has been for a very long time.